Radio Row postgame. Lobos 80, Boise State 78. Dreamstyle Arena, the pit tonight, on fire. Coach Weir still working his way around the stadium. He started in the student section to our right, and he's made the entire circumference, shaking as many hands as he can before he makes his way up the world-famous ramp here in the legendary pit. What a night, partner. Hunter Green, this place exploded. This is what it's all about. Mountain West action started a month early by everybody's account, but it happened, and man, did we get a beauty. New Mexico 80, Boise State 78, final.
Yeah, no question. This is definitely a conference battle, and Boise State, I tell you, they're not. This is a team they're gonna beat some people. And New Mexico had their hands full, gave them all they wanted, but New Mexico at the end did some really good things to win this basketball game.
Take the fast internet to the house with Xfinity X-Fi. Stream the Lobos all season long on every in-home device, no matter where you watch. It's beyond Wi-Fi. It's X-Fi, Xfinity, proud partner of the University of New Mexico Lobos. This Boise State team was picked 5th in the league by the media, granted. Right. It's not by the coaches anymore, at least preseason anyway. So you always treat it with some skepticism, and there are always a lot of unknowns. However, simple fact is, if that's the case, this is a really good league this year. That's a deep conference.
Really is. I tell you that, and they're picked 5th. They come into the pit and make it a 2-point game. I mean, it's going to be fun. I don't know who said it earlier, but if every conference game is going to be like this, it's going to be a fun season.
Whew. Yeah, that was our broadcast engineer on site, Michael Carlisle.
Was he supposed to even be talking?
He can talk in the breaks all he wants.
Okay.
We'll even let him talk in segment if he wants to. Yeah, okay. He's got that much pull. The media picked it: Utah State, San Diego State, UNM, Nevada, Boise State, Fresno State. That's the top 6. So that's the top tier of the league.
Yes. And
gosh, you know what? I mean, that's a jumble right there. I mean, Utah State when they get their big fella rolling, right? Mm-hmm. When Cates is healthy and at top speed and all that stuff, they've got the player of the year potentially in Merrill.
I watched them the other night. They looked tough without him.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they lost to St. Mary's. St. Mary's gave them all they wanted.
And that's a top 25 team.
That's a top 25 team. So, no, they're going to be there. Yep. Utah State. Yeah.
There's no question. San Diego State's looked unbelievable. Oh. They have a signature win over Iowa.
Are they still undefeated?
Yeah. Yep. So, and Nevada seems to have turned it around much earlier than anybody expected. Coach Alford's team is playing hard and playing well. Yeah. It's impressive at the beginning of the year. Very impressive, for sure.
Wide open.
What a night. Man alive. All right, time for us to take our first time out. Lobos 80, Boise State 78. Catch your breath. And all kinds of post-game festivities to come from Dreamstyle Arena to the pit. Lobos defeat Boise State by 2. Lobo basketball on the UNM Sports Radio Network.
I'm Nate.
We're courtside on Albertson's Radio Row. New Mexico 80, Boise 78, final. Just a scintillating Mountain West opener between two outstanding basketball programs. It delivered in every way it could possibly have done so. Boise and the Lobos. New Mexico by 2, 80-78. Check the back of every season ticket for a great deal at your local Arby's. Bring your coupon to any Arby's store. Take advantage of this incredible offer, exclusive to Lobo season ticket holders. Arby's, we have the meats. The Lobos have Jaquan Lyle, and Lyle was spectacular again, equaling his career best of 31 earlier this year for New Mexico against Green Bay. He goes 10 of 17 field, 3 of 7 from distance, 8 of 10 at the foul line, adds 4 rebounds and 6 helpers. Lyle was absolutely phenomenal, and that brings us to our Toyota drive of the game. Toyota, let's go places. Jackson feeds left corner to Malowich. Malowich drives and kicks to Vance. Vance right in front of Coach Weir. Deep left wing, driving on Alston, rising on Alston. Scoop is good. Over the 6'9" Alston. 26 for Quan. Jaquan Lyle at one stretch, unstoppable. Doing it inside, doing it outside, doing it off the bounce, doing it off the back down in the low block. Lyle has serious offensive game. That's your Toyota drive of the game. Toyota, let's go places. Hunter, what'd you like most about Jaquan Lyle's performance here tonight? I remember something you said in the second half about his willingness to eschew the jump shot and just go hard to the rack.
Yeah, and he saw what was working didn't force the issue in the second half with the 3-ball, just took it off the dribble and created, not only for himself but for his teammates in the closing minutes of the second half.
Yeah, Jaquan Lau, serious performance in a big-time college basketball game for New Mexico tonight. Carlton Bragg finished one carom off of his third double-double of the year. 17 points, 9 rebounds for CB, 4 of those offensive. And remember that 5:08 mark when
Yes.
CB got the key offensive rebound? R.J. Williams was called for the loose ball foul. R.J. Williams was also called for a technical foul, and that disqualified him. He was also part of a double technical. He ended up with 6 personals, which is hard to do. And he was disqualified and ejected because he ended up with 2 technicals there back-to-back. And CB, maybe the biggest offensive rebound of the game, came late when he didn't actually get the rebound, but he got fouled and got himself to the line. The Lobos, in the end, did huge work at the free throw line down the stretch.
Yeah, they did, and it had been struggling, but that was one of my keys to this game was getting to the free throw line and knocking them down, and that's what they did in the closing minutes.
Some other numbers for you. We can look at the more individual totals. The Lobos got 8 points apiece from J.J. Caldwell and Corey Manigault in this contest. Caldwell ended up with a game-high 7 assists and just 1 turnover. By the way, Jaquan Lyle played 39.04 of the 40 allowed. Only 1 turnover for Lyle. That's impressive.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, like I said, he played within himself, didn't force the issue when he could have, but just kind of let the game come to him. I thought, in the second half, he kind of held the ball a little bit too much when he didn't have action. But when he had action, he took it to the hole and got to the free throw line, and he was just unstoppable.
And he has been, so far this year, through the first 9 games, the Lobos turnover leader with 4 per game. But tonight just 1 in almost 40 minutes of court time. So very impressive. Some other numbers. The Lobos got 6 points apiece from Vance Jackson and McQuatch Malawach. McQuatch, ever the glue guy. 6 points, 2 assists, 2 steals. And who had the best plus-minus of anybody for the Lobos tonight? McQuatch Malawach played 1 second shy of 27 minutes, and the Lobos were plus 14 when he was on the court. Don't know how you feel about that stat. I'll tell you what.
He didn't get 1 rebound.
You're right. And yet his team was plus 14.
I don't understand that stat.
Yeah,
I can never get it. I always figure, well, the guy shoots a high percentage. The stat's a high stat. I really can't figure out that stat. So
McQuatch was 3 for 3 from the floor. He's doing something right.
Something.
No doubt. Carlton Bragg, we mentioned, with the 17 points and 9 rebounds. He also just 1 turnover. So many handles, too, tonight. So many touches for Bragg in just shy of 27 minutes. Blocked 2 shots. Only turned it over 1 time. Huge. The Lobos, as a team, just 6 turnovers.
Yes,
that's going to put a
huge.
smile on Coach Weir's face.
That's a huge stat right there. You're at home taking care of the basketball. That's huge.
Okay. Team totals. The Lobos shoot 51% from the field, exactly the same as Boise. 29 of 57, 27 of 53 respectively. Boise State 50% from 3, and the Lobos still win. Boise State 14 of 28 from 3. The Lobos just 3 of 14 from distant, only 21%, and they still win. New Mexico, well, this is going to be the one that sticks in the craw of Leon Rice, the 10-year head coach of Boise. New Mexico made more free throws than Boise State attempted, 19 to 14. Coach Weir will love that. Coach Rice will hate it. 10 out of 14 Boise, 19 out of 25 Lobos. Boise State 72%, Lobos 76%. That's huge.
Yeah, you could say it. I mean, that's where the Lobos won the game, is at the free throw line.
No question about it.
Yep.
Some other team numbers. Points off turnovers, all UNM. 16 to 5. Boise State turned it over 12 times. The Lobos just 6. The Lobos crushed them in the paint, 48 to 20 there. Second chance opportunities, really irrelevant. Both teams shot the eyes out of it. 6 to 5 Lobos. Fast break points, this is all off those turnovers, 20 to 5. The Lobos win that. And bench points, we knew that would be the Lobos, 12 to 2 for New Mexico. Rebounding battle, Lobos 32, Boise State 28. Lobos win the offensive board battle 10 to 7 after Boise had a 3 to 2 advantage At halftime, New Mexico assisted 19 times on 29 field goals. Boise State 19 times on 27 field goals. The Lobos, how about this? 7 steals for New Mexico. 7 steals among the Boise 12 turnovers. Boise State had 1. 1 steal. Not only did the Lobos handle it well, but Boise State is actually good at turning over other teams. They turn over teams at more than 15 a game. The Lobos had just 6.
Yeah, and Boise State's usually good at taking care of the basketball. And, Lobos are able to turn them over 12 times.
Yeah, and those turnovers proved very costly. Boise State, because of the time led in the first half, ended up leading the game longer than UNM, 24-18 to 10-38. But the Lobos had the last lead, and that was the only lead, of course, that mattered. Boise State's biggest scoring run was 8. The Lobos' biggest was 6. Boise State had an 8-point lead in the first half. In fact, they were up 8-0 and led twice in the first half by 8. The Lobos' biggest lead was 5. That came almost at the exact midpoint of the second half, 10-16 to go, when they led by 5. Pretty comprehensive performance for New Mexico. Okay, let's look at it through the coaching lens of what does Lobo basketball need to do better? What would you have liked to seen them do differently or do better tonight against Boise State? Obviously, the offensive performance for New Mexico was excellent. It's hard to argue when your team shoots 51% from the floor and wins in spite of not making threes. So where do you think UNM can improve overall, and what might they do differently against Boise State when these two teams face later on?
Well, we talked about, Boise State shooting a 3-ball, at a high percentage. And I thought New Mexico in the first half, in the closing minutes of the first half, in the second half, when was it? Yeah. They really tightened up in that half-court defense, but still allowing Boise State to knock down the 3. That area is where they're going to have to pick up their defensive effort in terms of not allowing them to get wide-open looks from the 3.
Another byproduct of starting conference play so soon, Boise State might look nothing like this by the time the Lobos play them again. The next time they meet is February 23rd. Yeah. That's almost 3 months, Hunter. I mean, that's 2 months plus 19 days. You're talking about, what, 11 weeks? I mean, that's kind of absurd, right?
Yeah, New Mexico may not be the same team
True.
either. So,
good point.
It was an early test, and this is all new for everyone to start playing conference plays so early. And like you said, that was only their 7th game. Boise State's 7th game, right?
Yeah,
so,
unbelievable.
They're only going to get better.
They're only going to get better? The Lobos are only going to get better.
Exactly.
And do you like the direction the Lobos are heading so far?
Yeah, I mean, you could see, the different parts. You could see them kind of coming together. You could see, J.J. Caldwell's strengths, whether it's, on-ball defense. And you can see, Bragg, running the floor and also defending. I mean, he's got a large presence inside, and he's disrupting some of the big guys from scoring inside. And you could just see guys kind of coming together in terms of, what do they bring to the table? We understand, what Jaquan Lyle can do now. We understand what Martin can do off the dribble, and I mean, just the pieces are just starting to come together. And 10th game already, and we kind of figure out what the Lobos, what they're going to look like.
Opening night of conference play in the Mountain West. The scores get increasingly important from here. We are in the midpoint of the second half in Fresno. UNLV and the Bulldogs, Fresno State 44, UNLV 43. That's a Donnybrook. Early on at San Jose State, you would expect Utah State 25th best in the country at 7-1 to roll there. Utah State 8, San Jose State 3, and the Golden State 16:49 left first half. San Diego State stays unbeaten, 79-57 win at Colorado State. Aztecs are 9-0, 1-0 in league. Colorado State 6-4. And 0-1 in the Mountain West. Air Force gets a conference opening win at Wyoming, 86-77 the final. Air Force 4-5, 1-0 in league. Wyoming 3-6, 0-1 in the Mountain West. And of course, our score here: Lobos 80, Boise State 78. Final: New Mexico 8-2 and 1-0 in league. Boise State 4-3 and 0-1 in conference. The team that is playing out of conference tonight is Nevada, and they will roll. They're up 77-48 on Santa Clara in Reno. Nevada is 5-3 on the year. Santa Clara, they came into that game, Santa Clara at 8-1, for what that is worth. Okay, Lobos 80, Boise State 78, and we have timeout here post-game. Coach's comments from headman Paul Ware to come. Lobos defeat the Broncos. 80-78 the final. Stay with us. Lobo basketball on the UNM Sports Radio Network. Lobos 80, Boise State 78, final. We're courtside. Albertsons Radio Row. My broadcast partner's Hunter Green. I'm Robert Portnoy. Post-game in Dreamstyle Arena to the Pit. Lobos take down the Boise State Broncos by 2. And hang on at the finish. And there was a definite scare there at the end, Hunter, because the right guy caught the ball for Boise State, and I'm not sure why he didn't just rise up. He hesitated. Justinian Jessup caught it and hesitated, and I didn't see clearly if it was indicated that he didn't get it off or not. In the end, it didn't matter because the shot came up way short. But I thought I felt a moment of hesitation where you'd expected him to immediately turn and fire on that catch.
Yeah, he wasn't squared up, and I think he was trying to get squared up. And at that time, the defense came and
2 guys.
Yeah, he just didn't have time.
He didn't have time. He didn't have space, and the Lobos defended it well. 80-78 the final. New Mexico defeats Boise State. All right, let's take a peek at some more of the individual totals. Jaquan Lyle leads New Mexico with 31 points, a career best tying number. 10 of 17 from the floor, 3 of 7 from deep, 8 of 10 from the foul line, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 turnover, and 2 steals. He also blocked a shot. Lobo head coach Paul Ware is alongside post-game here. Courtside at Albertsons Radio Row and Dreamstyle Arena, the Pit. And Coach Ware, congratulations. Let me say this
Sorry
first.
I'm late, guys.
No worries
Leon
at all.
is a good friend of mine, and we just got stuck talking, and I apologize.
No worries at all.
We're
Congratulations.
talking about, like, calls or anything. How many free throws you shot versus there.
Oh, I have so
You're
many
digging
things
deep, huh?
I want to ask about. Let me ask this. I thought it was courageous on your part. I think it was Jessup on the right wing over here on your side of the court had a 3 to go up 11-0, and he didn't make it. You never called a timeout there early, and your team worked its way back into the game. Were you thinking about it at the time, and what did you see there early on?
Definitely was thinking about it, even when the 8-point went in. But I wish anyone could just be in our huddles and be in our timeouts. It's just a very collected group, and I saw it at UTEP, which was our whatever it was, fourth game of the year. I saw it at New Mexico State. We saw it against Wisconsin after Auburn. Like, I don't know. I wish I could take credit, but it's not. There's nothing to take credit for. They have a very good resolve and good demeanor about them in the face of adversity, in the face of failure, defeat, whatever it may be. And it's a fun group to coach. There wasn't a single timeout that we've had all year in any of these games. UTEP, New Mexico State, Wisconsin, McNeese State, tonight, where I've gotten in and I'm trying to make people like, we can win this. Like, they think they can win it, and it's a fun place to be.
Is that because of the maturity?
I think
guys,
so,
yeah.
and just their confidence.
Yeah.
I think they think they're good basketball players, and I think they feel as though that we're going to win the game
So
somehow,
no panic.
some way. Exactly. Yeah. There just isn't, and I think, in the past it's been, we can do this, trying to build up. We can go get this one, and it was almost like expecting to lose. And I think these guys just have an expect-to-win mentality, which is it's fun.
So you were confident that they could work their way back into it, didn't take the timeout. How did they get themselves, get their feet under them and get into the game there in the first half?
We talked before the game, I told you, I think Boise's 5 starters are as good as any 5 in the league. I think when you put Alston and Jessup and R.J. Williams and these guys up against, they're great. You need to get into 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and that's the goal. And are our 5 as good as their 5? I don't know, and I frankly don't care. It's our 6, it's our 7, it's our 8, it's our 9. They've got to help us impact the game. And I told them at halftime, you can't do that in 20 minutes sometimes. You just can't. You've got to let the game continue to unfold. Boise, you have to give them credit. They punched all night long. That was their probably best swing we could take, and we still just kept taking them. And every time I go, guys, you're taking their best shot. This is the best game they have played all year long, and we're still here. We're still good. Just keep staying the course. And I think eventually R.J. Williams fouls out. Obviously, there's a technical that went with it. We started getting to the free throw line and getting in a little bit of a better rhythm, and we're able to pull the game out.
Coach, in the first half, obviously Boise State got hot from the three.
Yeah.
Was there anything in a timeout that you said defensively? Because it seemed like you guys turned up the defensive pressure, especially on-ball pressure, to kind of get back in the game.
Yeah, I just thought, I talked to Hunter about – I talked to Rob on the pregame about this. This is their 7th game of the year, and they've been off for a stretch, kind of like Auburn was off for a stretch before we played Auburn, and they looked like they've been off for a while. They came out guns blazing, and unfortunately, we've played a lot of games, and we got some older guys, and they just their energy to come out like they were ready to roll. And I don't think we weren't from a mental standpoint. We just didn't have the pop I would have liked, and I think it was a nice little uppercut to wake us up. Like, you know what? We keep playing this way, and this ain't going to go the way we wanted. And I think that kind of almost was a good thing to kind of snap us. I mean, our halftime, where there was a lot of energy in that room. It was very alert of these guys are good, and these guys can win the game. So, like, we need to lock in. We're not just going to roll out the ball now because we can beat Wisconsin and beat whoever we play. No one's just going to lie down, and Boise didn't lie down. They came back every single time. They're a very good basketball team, and they showed it tonight.
It was my worst fear. Michael Carlisle, our engineer, hosts an afternoon show. I told him this afternoon that Justinian Jessup's not going to shoot it 29% for the season.
Gosh.
Yeah, you mentioned it in our pregame that it was your worst fear, and then he makes 4 quick ones there in the first half.
Yep.
Any adjustments? He still ended up shooting very well. 6 of 10 from 3 when it was all said and done. But gosh, when he gets it going, he's tough to guard.
He did. He's a great shooter, and unfortunately, good shooters that are 6'6" are just so much harder to guard. I mean, JJ was guarding him in the corner there with a hand up, but he's 6'6". He's not 6'2". And sometimes little guys, you can bother them with length, but he's so tall and so long, he can really just kind of get his shot off whenever he wants. I thought in the second half we did a much better job of just really getting out on him, but he made some. He made some behind players. He made some with hands and faces, and you have to give players like that credit when they shoot the ball. And Dickinson came out of nowhere and was equally as impressive. And we started changing the way we guarded him as the game went on. And he's been pretty much a non-shooter his career. So they shot the ball incredibly well tonight.
So overall, were you pleased with the defense? You gave up 78
points.
Yeah,
not great. It was not a great night. I think at the end of the day, we've talked about this. I talked about this on the pregame. Teams like to just spread us and attack us. They spread us out. They made threes. They attacked us. I thought we did a pretty good job of taking away dunks, layups, things like that. They had some in transition, but there wasn't a lot around
Points
the rim.
in the paint. That was one of the things.
Exactly right. And that's the goal. Carlton got in foul trouble in the first half, which we haven't really dealt with this year. That was on probably that charge in the lane. But the goal is to, again, keep us out of foul trouble, and I told the guys, if someone can make 14 threes and still can't beat us, we're in okay shape. We just got to keep working at some other parts of our defense. But tonight was not great by any means.
You're right on about Dickinson. 5 threes for the year, 4 tonight for Boise State. Lobo head coach Paul Weir is with us. Gosh, a bunch of different things I want to ask you, but your perspective at this point in the year, and just because you just brought it up, the charge, that was not a drive to the basket. That was a post move.
Yeah.
The player clearly added some emphasis.
Yeah, for sure.
The flop rule and all of that. What do you see about that at this point? Because it was a big foul. It was CB's second foul in the first half.
I actually, part of what I was talking to Leon was about, and the officials do an amazing job. I just thought tonight was very it just seemed very inconsistent with the physicality. There were stretches that went on where there was a lot of physical play and nothing called, and then there were stretches you got to like little ones like that, and it just didn't seem the game didn't have a great flow that way. Even down the stretch, we finally started getting to the line, but I felt those were going on all game, and then late we got some, which is great. But it's hard. We got 2 teams fighting for conference, and it's the beginning of December, and these officials are still trying to kind of figure things out. And it was a weird whistle tonight. And again, nothing against the guys we had, but we're used to getting to the line more, and we just couldn't quite get there as much as we wanted to tonight.
25.
And that
25
late for sure.
Yeah.
And they came, but we were really low almost through the entire first half. Late, like I said, we started getting some, which was great, but but there was a lot of physical play around the rim, and those block charge calls are hard. He's a 6'5" center who's working his tail off, trying to make ends meet, and flopped a little bit and got the call, and good for him.
There were only 13 total foul calls in the first half. We talked about Derek Alston almost appearing even to defer a little bit in the first half. What did you guys do defensively on him? He ended up with 20, and is he just – Hunter said he's maybe one of those players you accept that he's going to get his. You just want him to go off for 35.
Yeah, no, the whole – believe it or not, in the pregame, I spent most of my time on Williams and Alston. Is really what I said, because they're the drivers. They're the guys who can really get to the paint, put pressure on us, and I thought we did a really good job on both those guys. The problem is Jessup came from – theoretically nowhere as far as what he's been doing and changed what we did, and I thought that opened up for Alston the second half. And if Jessup didn't get going, we would have been okay with our original game plan, which was, hey, make not necessarily Jessup beat us, but let's stop Alston and Williams because they're both terrific at getting to the free throw line. R.J. Williams, one of the best free throw fouls drawing guy in the country right now, and Alston's 9 attempts a game, and our goal was just keep those guys from getting in there and getting to the free throw line.
And the Lobos offense coming out, you just started jacking up threes.
Yeah.
And then was there a conversation in the huddle like, look, guys?
For sure. JJ, teams have been sagging off him. He's made one in each of the last 2 games, and I thought tonight he maybe felt like that was going to be a long-term thing. And he's so good without the ball, cutting and playing and making decisions. And I thought he just took some early. He's in a rhythm. He feels like he wants to prove something, and we just got to kind of rein him in and make sure he takes good ones.
Because you guys got away from the 3 ball, and it worked.
Exactly right.
Guys.
Exactly right, yeah.
It just speaks directly to what you just said, because there was a moment, and I don't think it was early. It was later. Might even have been second and a half later after JJ missed those 2 early threes, and you could see he had oodles of time at the top, and he thought about shooting it, but he gave it up and then got it back for a rim run and a layup, and that's exactly what you're talking about,
question.
isn't it?
He's bless his heart. He's grown up playing basketball that way. That wasn't his. He knows how to play without the basketball, and we just need to keep learning how to play with him without the basketball. It's very rare to have a 5'11" kid darting into different places and passing and cutting, and nobody's probably played with a kid like this, and I think we're understanding him as well, too, and we just have to do a good job of that.
Wow. So conference play got started in December.
Yeah.
This looked like a pretty high-level basketball game.
Man, I thought Boise was incredible tonight. You have to really tip your cap. I just told the guys that was a heavyweight uppercut, whatever you want to say, and we took it and battled through and were able to kind of grind one out. So you got to tip your cap to Boise. I hope when this is all said and done, it's one of those wins you're really thankful to have. I told them we don't really understand the magnitude of all this until way down the road, but let's put something in the pocket that later on we're happy about, and we got one more of those. So it's a really quick turnaround that I'm concerned about, but we got to get through one more before we can get a little bit of a break.
Yeah, trip to Laramie. Just to emphasize the point you made, we did the math. 7 weeks before you see Boise State again.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Last year, I think we played them one time here in
it was senior night.
Wherever.
It was the last game.
There you go.
The
it was senior night. You're exactly right. We played them in March. Yeah.
All right. Best of luck against Wyoming, and thanks so much for coming down. That was an awesome win. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
Lobo head coach Paul Weir, our guest. Man, something else to get an 80-78 conference win on December 4th.
Yeah. You're playing a February game in December.
Yeah,
because that's what it felt like. It felt like February, right?
It absolutely did. It felt like positioning for conference seeding and even maybe a conference championship was on the line. That's how good this basketball game was tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Coach Weir. I think this was full on. Like, you can watch all the schedule the rest of the season. There'll be great games, but there won't be many much better than this one. This was a terrific game, played at a high level and at a great pace.
No question. And I think we'll see more of them. I think we will. I mean, you see the Nevadas. They're no slouch. I mean, they'll come in and they'll compete. So
almost 10-5 tonight, 10,500. There are a few available seats. I hope everybody that was in the house tonight tells those that didn't make this one that you're missing something special. This Lobo team looking really, really good.
Yeah, they're fun to watch.
Unbelievable opener to conference play. All right, Mike Vitale, our broadcast producer and engineer, on-site engineer. Michael Carlisle, my partner, is Hunter Green. You played a little hurt tonight, brother.
Yeah,
thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm Robert Portnoy. The Lobos and Wyoming will take each other on. Game 2 of the conference slate. It comes up this weekend. It'll be on Saturday. It's a 2 p.m. tip-off from Laramie. Our airtime 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. is our airtime with the pregame show. Wyoming and the Lobos tip from Wyoming at 2 p.m. Mountain Time on Saturday, December 7th. That's going to do it for us for tonight from the legendary Pit. Dreamstyle Arena to the Pit. The Lobos win it. A dramatic one. New Mexico defeats Boise State to open league play. The Lobos are now 8-2 and 1-0 to start the year. New Mexico 80, Boise State 78. Final. Good night, everybody. You've been listening to Lobo Basketball on the UNM Sports Radio Network.